saying about how does forgiveness feel, because it's, in my experience, I've had a hard time forgiving this ongoing wrong or hurt that I feel from this person who will not step up to the line with me and reconcile. So I have to get a bigger perspective. I'm so glad I live with this man because I continue to have to get a bigger perspective. But it really does.
I'm sorry.
It really does. Yeah, I'm sorry. It really does help to step back and get a bigger perspective, because then I really feel like you cannot forgive a person unless you are the stronger. I think it takes humility, not humiliation, but to the point of realizing who you are. And I think that's the psychological piece. If you know yourself and you have the spiritual quality and have them come together, I think it takes a strong whole person to be able to forgive and stand at the line ready for this reconciliation. If it never comes, for what reason or another, like if the person's dead, or they just do not understand, or they misinterpret, or they just don't have a big perspective, then you just have to stand at that line until they're ready. And if they never are ready, it still soothes your own soul. It still gives you I've done all I can and then stand kind of feeling. And it really does, to me, it's been hard, but it's been good, because I think I'm getting to be stronger and healthier as a person so that I can do that.
How about joyful sadness as the feeling?
Well, C.S. Lewis says this about joy. He says you can't have joy without grief and sadness. Grief and sadness are part of the definition of joy. So don't miss that piece. Jill.
We're not talking about our stories, but what if the forgiveness that you're having to work on totally blew your life out of the water, changed everything about your life, who you are, you're left picking up pieces, trying to figure out your dad or whoever. To me, it's a lifelong process. In a way, it's like getting, because I'm trying to still live my life and forgive this person who totally blew my life out of the water. So to me, it's like I would go a little bit and I would say, oh, okay, I'm growing, I'm doing this here, I'm growing, I'm forgiving. Because the forgiveness is only, not forgiving is only hurting me more.
Yeah, that's what makes this complex. Okay? And I think, let's see if I can talk to pieces of that some way. I want to talk to you about how you forgive before you go away tonight. And the how-tos wind up being, I don't think I can talk to you about the how-tos, because there's so many different situations, and I could read you dozens of stories that just defy making sense out of them. How does this work in this situation? And so I don't think it will yield to our formulas, but I do have some ideas, maybe. Okay? One of the pieces is, and I think that's why I mentioned the Amish piece, one of the pieces is to do it. But understand some of the reasons why you should do it, and I'll give you those questions here in a minute. This is part of the how-to part for me. This is gleaned not just from me, but from a bunch of writings. So let me read. The first way to forgive is slowly. I think once you start the process of forgiveness, it never ends. It's like grief, or like having a new baby. A new baby starts a process that's an eternal process. It never ends. And those of you who are parents understand that, because the kids keep coming back no matter what age. So, slowly means that you don't, 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 you You're not surprised when it comes back up, when the feelings come back up. When the feeling for revenge comes back up, you understand that there's no way you can produce fairness, but it's worth it for your soul to do the work of forgiveness and trust the vengeance to God, for instance. But not deny the fact that you have that feeling of vengeance. And you know, I can point to you places in Scripture where even God was angry and vindictive, if you will. And you think, whoa, that seems way out of place, you know. But it's there. That's why I like the prophets, because they're so fun that way. You know, I mean, they got all these crazy stories anyway. But so I think one of the challenges here is to know that you need to learn how to do this slowly, rather than I'm going to get closure and it's out. I no longer have any animosity. I'm not hurt. It didn't affect me. I don't think that's possible. Phil?
Is there a spiritual component to forgiveness, and if there is, what is it?
Well, yeah, I think there is. I put that in here somewhere. I actually wrote that down. I did write it down. Maybe I'll do that to you now. Maybe these are the two components. And the spiritual component's the first one. The grace to do it's from God. The decision to do it's our own. Now, what I mean by that is, in this movie, they even get to that point where they're talking about, wow, this is bigger than us somehow. We can't just generate it all on the human side. I have a friend of ours, well, she's a staff member, and she's really, really bright gal. She did her master's degree just recently in Spain. So she did her master's degree in Spanish, even though that's not her native tongue. And it was in a peace studies program in southern Spain. And she wrote her thesis on storytelling as a tool for forgiveness. And what she discovered, she said at the end of that, was that no forgiveness takes place unless there's something outside of the setting you're in, outside of the events, bigger than the events, which was Nancy's saying, a bigger context, a bigger picture, a bigger perspective. And that's what God gives us. So one of my favorite Psalms is this one line in Psalm 118, verse 5. It says, when you're in trouble, you pray, God hears, He answers that prayer, and it ignores the setting, but it says He sets you in a larger place. He gives you a bigger context in which to deal with whatever the issue is. So He gives you a bigger container to handle the intensity of this. But this was just helpful for me when I was thinking about the spiritual dynamic of it. She was saying, in a sense, what she said was, you can't, unless there's a hope outside of the events, you're stuck. Make sense? Yeah.
So when you say grace is a spiritual component, if you believe in a common grace, would you say that what allows the, say, a Tibet Buddhist to forgive better than a Christian possibly?
Yeah.
Because of that component?
Yeah. Because they have a bigger context in which to put it. What else came up in your group? Right here.
I'm not the spokesman for the group, but I would reverse those. I would say we make the decision, and then God provides the grace for us to live with the decision that we've made. I mean, we can choose the. we can choose to hold a grudge for the rest of our life or not to forgive. But the grace is there, but we have to make the decision to say, I am going to forgive. Just like Christ did on the cross. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And he made the decision to go to the cross. God gave him the grace to stay there, and then we forgive.
Yeah, I suspect you're right. I would say, if the order matters, you know, I think God always initiates. We never do first, so He's going to provide. That's why I call forgiveness a resource, because it is. But I think it does have this component to it, you know, that we can access plenty enough grace that's given to us. Grace sufficient to do this. But that's what it will take. Go ahead.